right, fam, let's get it going. Thanks to everybody that's online, also in real life. Awesome to have so many of my favorite people around the space here with us live. I'm gonna save you guys the self-aggrandization of me doing these elongated intros with everybody in the room. I'm gonna send it over. First up, we have the man behind Parallel, Tau Steady, now Sanctuary, Colony, and of course Wayfinder. It's the Prince of Parallel, the king of the cards. It's Koji Nagata.
Sam, that was the laziest intro I've ever fucking heard in my entire life. Ever. I want more alliteration, man.
Thank you, Koji. It's great to see you as well. Always a pleasure. Up next, I'm sending it over to one of the best speakers at Alpha Night that we had last night from Infinigods. It's Bry DeSanto.
What's up, Sam? What's up, Wolves? Fantastic to be here, seeing a lot of familiar faces. They say Web3 gaming's dead. You'd never know it at the Wolves Den.
Let's go. Let's go. Thanks so much, Bry. Appreciate you being here as always. Up next, a new friend of Gamify, but frequently one of our favorite panelists whenever he is here from Andromeda. It's Michael Christine.
Hey, what up, everybody? Super hyped to be here. Love to be here in person, seeing Web3 gaming alive and well. And like I said, I'm going to influence Sam by the end of this relationship that he's going to stop saying Web3 gaming is inevitable and he's starting to say on-chain gaming is inevitable. And I'm here to make that happen.
On-chain gaming, we'll see. I'm gonna run some focus groups. We'll see what the results. Yeah, whether A/B test the thumbnail. Up next, he's building the picks and shovels. He's sponsoring the Wolves Den. A new friend of ours from Beamable. We got John Radoff.
Hey, thanks for having me here. Yep, we're building a platform that's going to turn every game into a Web3 game. That's because we are building infrastructure on chain. We're going to make it so you can provision all the game servers that you need, all the backend services, all the live ops, and we're going to make it settle on Web3. So even if you're not building a game with a Web3 economy, you're going to be a Web3 game. No one will even know. So we're going to bring the whole market with us. By the way, like, I wish you guys could see the video of this because we're all sitting here with like phones on a couch talking and like listening closely to not produce a bunch of feedback, but it's kind of weird but cool and fun.
I think there's a dystopian South Park episode about this for sure. Up next, another one of our incredible sponsors, one of the games that people have been so excited to be playing, and we're going to be doing not only the world first playtest reveal that we did yesterday, but also the very first invitational tournament in the history of Project O. From Project O, we have Kevin Lambert.
What is up, guys? Thanks for having me here. This is so cool. I'm sitting on a couch with everybody I talk to in these spaces all the time and getting to see the faces and be in the presence and all holding our phones. This is super weird. Hopefully somebody's got a picture of this that you all can see what it looks like. But it's awesome to be here. Thanks, Sam.
Incredible to have you. And of course, we have our chief simplifying officer, the ruler of RuneScape, the maven of Magic Eden. It's Knock.
Yo, I had to pretend that I was somewhere else, so I walked outside, but I am very close. I can see the couch. It does, in fact, look as weird as Kevin just described.
Thanks for that confirmation, checking in from the balcony. Appreciate that. Up next, we have the man who needs to loan his pants from other people in Singapore. We have the man who's leading uptick to the something, I don't know. It's Jerry, the Golden God.
Who the fuck just laughed? Who was that?
If you were here on time, you'd know.
Who said everybody? And it's Icy's fault that I'm late. I'll be there. I'm on the way. Save me a spot on the couch, boys.
All right, brother. Can't wait to have you. Kevin's keeping it warm for you. Up next, the former sharpshooter of Shrapnel, now the kid of Glitter Cloud Solutions. It's Dub.
Wow, I thought I was a co-founder. I guess I'm just a fucking child. I came to the circle to speak, but I'll also be in the balcony. I'm a little bit of a bridger, a multi-chain hopper kind of guy, but great to be here.
And of course, the two-time Super Smash Bros. Silver medalist, now from AVAX, it's the strongman Wills.
You guys are missing out on the couch. I'm out here getting inspired by the marvels of human industry on the San Francisco Bay, getting me pumped up, getting me psyched. Yeah, Get out here, boys.
Hell yeah, brother. And of course, it's the co-host with the co-most, the Little Lizard legend, weighing in at 2.4 pounds. It's Lems.
GM, everyone. It is good to be here. Web3 Gaming is alive and well in the Wolves Den. If you're not here, you are missing out. Don't believe all the nonsense on Twitter. Go talk to some real people who are on the ground.
A common theme that I've heard from everybody that is here in real life. And of course, I got to give a massive shout out to our incredible sponsors. Get ready to howl with excitement as we welcome the Alpha, bringing the Blizzard of benefits with a flurry of fantastic games. It's Avalanche, the leader of the blockchain Blizzard, the one and only official chain of gamified. Wolf and the Wolves DAO have chosen them to build on, and they're making L1s to dive deep into the firefights of off the grid, conquer the competition in Shadowline, or enjoy the nostalgic world of Maple Story. Why aren't you doing it, you crazy people? All right, up next, gamers get ready to go gaga for Game 7. The gaming giant is giving growth a gigantic boost. They're not just building bridges, they're blasting through barriers and brilliant blockchain breakthroughs. With Summon, they're conjuring secret sauce to keep your players glued to your game. And with Hyperplay, they're hyping up the portal to instant Web3 access with no friction, just fun. Oh, I thought we got rugged for a second because Lems pinned something. That gave me a minor heart attack. Thanks to Game 7 for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. And if you're getting ready to blast off, do it with Star Atlas, the official game of Gamified, and its sensational preseason spectacular. Right now, you can plunge into a galaxy of captivating content, explore exotic exoplanets, engage in exhilarating expeditions, and experience the evolution of gaming graphics that will redefine the cosmos. Get a game key to the preseason by joining Star Atlas in their Discord. Also, featuring them here at the Wolves Den. Topic number one, a little sad here, Lems. We're starting off with the current state of gaming. 2024 saw 15,000 people get laid off in the gaming industry. People in Web 2 are a little bit frustrated with the title quality. People in Web3 frustrated with the lack of games, but I was just at the Arbitrum booth, 14 playable games just at that booth alone. Did these events affect the turnout at GDC? What do you guys think of the vibe so far? As far as compared to previous years, I know Kevin Lambert sitting next to me, 25 years at GDC in a row or something like that. Dub had the hand up first, though.
I mean, the most popular booth at GDC is the one with the now hiring sign at it. So vibes are at a pretty interesting spot. But I mean, at least it's packed. At least the industry still has active participants that are trying to build, trying to participate, trying to be there. I mean, it's not cheap to to get into GDC, and there you still see scours of developers looking for jobs and looking to build games. I mean, at the same time, every time I screamed crypto in the crowd, everyone looked at us pretty foul. So, I don't know if we have a ton of builders coming. We need to see more, but hopefully Arbitrum is able to convince a lot of the developers on the floor to start building in the crypto, because we just need, it starts there, and then products come after, and we clearly need like a new batch of builders coming in and building, because all the scammers are pretty much running out of juice.
For anybody that wasn't there, they looked at Dub weird, not because he said crypto, but because he screamed it at the top of his lungs inside of a building with a bunch of cameras pointed at him. So that was probably what it was. Koji, over to you.
Yeah, man. I think it's pretty good, to be honest with you. We have a very short memory in this space. Like, it's kind of fucked up, if we're honest. Like, it wasn't that long ago that we had 5 total playable games, period, in Web3, and now we have one booth with 25 or whatever total playable games, and we're like, oh, it's all dead. We have no patience. We don't let things sort of like air out in the space, and we want everything now, and we want everything up only. Like you got to ride the waves, man. I think that, like, just remember, people will come if you build it.
We
Nice.
hope.
Field of
Kevin
dreams,
Lambert
baby.
tagging you in.
Yeah, man, I was one of those people who said I've been to GDC so many times, and every year got more and more Web3, and that maybe next year or the year after was going to be the full takeover of Web3. Definitely not seeing that this year. Like, if this was doing technical analysis on the chart, we're in a correction phase, right? We're not down only, but we're dropping like 30% and then going to go back to the moon. And I think this is a great time to be here, because it really, all of the trust me bro days are behind us, and people are like, I don't know, you're going to have to show me something, and I'm going to need to see fundamentals and a little bit of a flight to quality. It's honestly the best time to build, when you're in the bear or whatever. I don't even think we're in a bear market, but where everybody's like, we're down bad and where's the quality? And I love that Web 2 is complaining about the same thing. They're like, where's the quality? Great. That's what we need here too. So I don't think it's dead at all. But it'll be a couple more years before the takeover resumes.
Not dead, just hibernating, says Kevin Lambert. Bride DeSanto, what say you?
It's pretty interesting, I think, when you look at last year to this year. I mean, especially with Web3, it felt like a lot more hype, a lot more of these big visionary statements, platitudes. Whereas this year, you've seen a lot of those studios, unfortunately, go under and aren't here. But I think the people that are here, I mean, are closer than we've ever been to, I think, hitting market and building a real scalable product. And I look around the room. I mean, it's legends from the space that have been here for multiple cycles. And I would say, we're all looking better than we ever have, which is pretty damn cool. And I don't know. I feel a lot of conviction that a big winner will have been at the Wolves Den this weekend, if not multiple. And I think, unfortunately, in Web3 gaming, you have a lot of the hyped hollow projects that burn out first. And that's a lot of where the reputation is coming from. It just takes time to build quality that's scalable and ready to go. I think 25 into 26 is going to be a big turning point for us. And I would bet you GDC 26 will look a hell of a lot more exciting. And I think, this group might actually be the little luminary star, because gaming overall, you go to GDC and outside of this room, this house, it feels quiet. It's that part's a little depressing, but this part feels good.
Next year, we're going to take the Moscone Center for the Wolves Den from GDC. The entire thing. That's right. I'm going to go to John Radoff, then we're tagging in Michael Christine.
So there's a couple things I've noticed. So first of all, I think people underestimated like 5 years ago when people started to really seriously build in this category just how hard it was. First of all, a lot of the chains at the time were not performant. It was really hard. Like you build anything, it would cost a lot. Gas fees were insane. The tech infrastructure to get you online basically was non-existent. Like that's what I've spent the last 5 years building, is just helping folks like Kevin here get to market with their product. So we really just believe in like accelerating the velocity of development, getting people online faster, and focus on the fun of the game. That's been really hard in the past. So that's a change really of only the last year or so. The other thing that I'm noticing is there's a lot of other people kind of like Kevin who've come with decades of experience in game development, and they're now entering this part of the market. And part of it is what you were just referring to, like Web 2 is just as much a disaster as anything else that's out there. So everybody's going into this very creative phase. Like I just did a live stream this morning with Dennis Dyack. You can check out the stream on my feed. He's a developer with 30 years of experience. He's shipped hit games, Legacy of Kain, stuff like that. He's got really amazing ideas around using AI on chain with storytelling, and just you have to watch the stream to get his whole idea. But like this is a guy who really believes in Web3 and the blockchain as an enabler of new kinds of fun, like not just the same old games with trading economies, but new kinds of fun where provenance and history and what you do in the game kind of lives on forever. Really, really cool ideas. But it's the fact that he's been at this for a long time and he sees the promise of it. So that's pretty exciting. That said, these games take a while to build, right? So like games don't just instantly appear. Even when you can focus on the fun, it could be 2, 3, 4 years of development. Forgetting AAA, that's even longer. It takes time to build a good game.
Can devs please do something?
Please, for the love of God. Michael Christine from Andromeda, can you do something?
Hey, we're doing what we can, guys. We're coming in hot in May. You guys probably want to look out. But to answer the question, yes, a lot of game developers last year were fired, but you got to look at the entire tech space in general. I think what was it, 50,000 game developers were fired last year. Over 150,000 software engineers were laid off in tech in general. So this isn't anything related specifically to gaming. I think a lot of it is the AI revolution that's coming. A lot of it is game development can be made for cheaper elsewhere outside of the U.S. US developers, as somebody who runs a publishing studio, I can tell you, are the most expensive developers in the world. And US developers aren't necessarily better than developers in Asia or developers in Latin America or anything like that, but they absolutely are way, way, way more expensive. So I think really what we're starting to see is the competition start to drive competition, and that's really how capitalism works. And so once the US starts to figure it out in terms of how the development speed, how you can develop faster, how it's not going to take 3 years to fully complete a game, I think we're going to really start to see things take off, and I think we're going to really start to see the acceleration of that with these AI foundations that are starting to pop up everywhere. And I can tell you, talking to all these Web 2 gamers, same thing in Web 3. Everybody's looking for money, and everybody looks at me as a publisher saying, "How much money can you give us?" And so, hey, we look for games that are almost finished, but I can tell you that everybody's spirit is high. There's so much passion in the gaming space in general, and just being at GDC and talking to these indie developers, you can see like their heart and souls are going to the game. And as they continue to figure out distribution, that's what's really going to start to save the industry and propel it to that next level that we all keep talking about. Because on-chain gaming is inevitable.
Up next, I'm gonna send it over to the king in the kimono, the titan of taboo. It's Senjin.
Yeah, the best thing about being a smoker is that I judge the what's kind of going on with the other smokers or the vapors outside, and last year kind of like upset. This year just kind of sad, and so yeah, like that's basically what GDC is kind of feeling from last year. But in terms of like going through the exhibitions, like yeah, like one thing was super impressive, like the mocap stuff, motion capture stuff. There was one booth that had a motion capture thing with just sensors, and they had a gymnast there, and it was fucking awesome. And I would never think about doing mocap in my dev, but after seeing like the developments there, I think that's fantastic in terms of the real tools that we use to build rather than just AI. I mean, just how things are just developing. But I had stepped out and I actually had a VC meeting with a Web 2 traditional game investor. And the one thing that he brought up was very interesting, and we've been hearing about it as well, was that, you know, the thing with it is that games have gotten so good that people don't want to switch the games that they already do love already, because a lot of times before it was like because of new hardware, the new CPU came out, the new video creating came out, like cool, now we can like use this to play the best games that there are. But now we've reached that point where it's not the technology that's kind of holding back games. The market itself, like there's just been so many great, fantastic games, and now the competition is like, how can you be not just innovative and good, but how can you be better than what is, to kind of break that cycle? And I think for that reason, Web3 gaming is inevitable, because if we can break that cycle with something truly innovative, that Web2 gaming doesn't have, these existing titles that are so good, they just simply don't have that in their functionality set overall. I think that's the way forward. But my heart goes out to all the Web3 studios that have kind of are really close to running out of capital. I wish you guys the best of luck, and all obviously to our Web2 industry compatriots. I mean, honestly, we're just all game developers on that level.
Absolutely. I think we all share that sentiment there. Knock, I thought it was really interesting what Michael said about this being more about economics and capitalism and the AI revolution than it is specifically about gaming. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think if you look at where the bulk of these layoffs come from, they're not coming from studios that, weren't able to ship a game or run out of money and had to lay off, a few hundred staff members. Activision, Blizzard, EA, and a bunch of others are responsible for like a good 50 to 60+% of everything everybody who's been laid off over the last little while. And those companies are also reporting some of their best years in recent history, or best quarters in recent history. We're talking about capital efficiency. It's the name of the game right now. AI has kind of changed things up. People are looking for ways to build games cheaper. Sinjin talked a little bit and sort of alluded to this idea of the forever game, a game that you play for 5 to 10 years and you don't really have the bandwidth to play anything else. And I think that those are getting more efficient at making money while putting less money into the development and maintenance of those games. And I think that that's what you're seeing. We just saw this with Marvel Rivals, a game that came in, sort of ate Overwatch 2's lunch a little bit here, brought in a ton of really interesting IP. People love the game, and they fire a significant portion of that North American team in the name of capital efficiency to kind of build outside. So I think that that's what we're seeing a lot of. The vibes here at GDC, I'll be the guy, I'm outside, so nobody can look at me funny. But the vibes here are definitely not what it was like last year at all. Last year I met with Bry. We were out by this little lawn behind the Moscone Center, and there were literally like hundreds of people out on the lawn, people sitting, hanging out, just sort of enjoying the sun in between shows and events. And that doesn't exist this year. There's like 4 guys outside smoking. Evidently, one of them was Sinjin, and they're just kind of there alone. Like it's definitely a little bit of, or what feels like a little bit of an inflection point, right? You see a lot of teams in the Web2 space making a ton of money, and a lot of developers are being laid off as a result of their games making a ton of money. And it kind of feels like this belief of the 20 or 30-year career with a single studio is being lost by a lot of the developers who are building in the traditional Web2 space. I think that creates an opportunity potentially for teams who are doing well in Web3. But even on that front, there are really only 2 types of teams here. There are 5 to 10 teams who are in a good position, who have raised money, who have products coming out. A lot of the guys on this panel are, leads at those teams. And then there's 99% of the teams who are here who are looking for money to hopefully get a game across the finish line and get something out. I think the industry feels, at least to me this year, like it's in a little bit of a turning point. I think one of the positives is, unlike in years past, where a lot of the traditional Web2 giants would look at what's going on here and kind of shun us to the corner. That was like the whole thesis of the Web3 gaming sucks booth that Avalanche put on. This year, it does feel a little bit different. There's some pretty significant players here who are meeting with people from our industry to get a better understanding of what's actually going on here. And it, at least to me, feels like for the first time, they're taking this a little more seriously. So I hope we see a shift from some of these massive incumbents in the traditional gaming space and, laying people off in the name of capital efficiency. And hopefully some of that title or some of that talent gets recycled back into our space, into the Web3 space, and we continue to attract more developers here. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that would be the way that I would phrase it. But GDC this year definitely feels, outside of the Wolves Den, it feels a little bit like a ghost town.
Well, at least we have each other here in the pack. Let's go over to Will Spangler. Then we're going to T Valk and John for a quick statement before we move on to the next topic. Spang, over to you.
Yeah, I think the really great point that's been highlighted by everybody is that Web 2 is in the shitter as well. And I think that it's for a combination of reasons. We're talking about how most of these layoffs are coming from the incumbents, these large Activision, Microsoft, Blizzards, who are seeing that spending $500 million on a game with 8,000 people making it isn't the most productive way to do things, when someone can make a spinning knife game on a mobile app and make just as much revenue as they can in a week. And we're kind of seeing these colliding forces come, where these massive studios are laying off their 30 light riggers and 84 environmental artists. And those people are going out and looking for jobs in a market that is investing in and moving towards this mobile, hyper casual, like almost single dev studio approach. And these two forces clashing is why we get these massive numbers of layoffs. And it's almost this hyper specialization of, we're either going to make the greatest game in the world, the most massive multiplayer RPG experience, or we're going to make an idle clicker. And I think that these two things coming together is where Web3 has a really great opportunity to come in through the middle. And how can we blend these two audiences, these super hardcore players, with experiences? And as people have been saying, this panel are working towards that. I was talking with Charlie from Barcade, and this bringing in game developers who aren't even making games yet. How do we mobilize and monetize the new generation of game developers? And that's what I'm really excited to see.
Let's go to Tony Valkercell joining us from offsite, and then we'll go to John Radoff.
I was supposed to be on site, but my dumbass ordered an Uber to the wrong place. And so I've been in this Uber for an hour. I'm almost at the house now. I echoing some of what everyone else has said, but I'll be the asshole in the room. And I think that one of the things that people haven't called out, and is really important, is that the games industry underwent a period of hyper growth during the COVID pandemic, and then with the advent and acceleration of some of these big, massive free-to-play franchises. I mean, Epic changed their entire business to focus on UGC and free-to-play, right? And whenever you see, in the same way that we saw a bunch of people who were making expansions for EverQuest get laid off when people stopped making expansions for video games and started making free-to-play games with microtransactions, we're just seeing a whole bunch of people that have skill sets that just aren't going to be relevant anymore. Unfortunately, it sucks, and some of those people will be able to transfer those skills to other things, and some of them won't. And the other thing is, with any period of hyper casual growth, and I'll say it, sorry guys, I'm kind of a jerk. You hire people that suck sometimes, right? Like, and then when that happens, B hires B or B hires C, C hires D, and you end up with a bunch of people that like honestly just shouldn't be working in a highly competitive, highly creative industry with a multi-disciplinary requirement to function, right? There's a lot of people in the space that got hired that just should like not be in dynamic jobs that they're in, right? And so there's some of that right sizing going on right now. Everyone who's on this or listening to this knows someone that they've worked with that is like, oh man, like you probably like shouldn't be doing the thing that you do. You're not good at it. You shouldn't be a producer. You shouldn't be a marketing person. You should be like something else completely. And a lot of those people over the next 4 or 5 years are going to like, in a very difficult way, have to find what it is they're actually good at.
Yeah, one of them is in this room right now.
Hold on, guys.
No,
Jesus
just kidding.
Christ, this is fucking miserable. We're like, hey, the other guys are also having a really, they're miserable, so it's okay that we're also miserable. Like, what the fuck is going on here, man? Let's get some hope. Let's get some joy in here.
I like that we have an in real life laugh track right now. It's pretty sick. John Radoff, quick last statement, and then we're moving on.
There's a few things I'm also observing on the funding side. So, 2, 3, 4 years ago, you could raise a whole bunch of money on a PowerPoint deck and a cool idea, and people would just line up and throw money at you. But, the zero interest rate era is pretty long gone. The money is not just flowing into whatever crazy idea you've got. So you actually have to show results now. And there's sort of two parts of the development cycle that really impacts. So upfront, the early development, if you think you're going to go out and get a bunch of money on a PowerPoint deck, short of you are just a legendary god who ships gold constantly in gaming, you're just not getting those deals. You're going to have to build a vertical slice and show gameplay that you've got a really solid team that can nail the art design, the online features, the gameplay, like, and then you can build, and then you'll find investors to grow that base product. But you're not going to get it off of a couple of trailers and a PowerPoint deck. So forget that, because you're going to waste a lot of time trying. And the other part that's a problem is there's a bunch of people that raised capital. They got 90% of the way through game development, and they're like they're the alleged 10% of the way from completion. Guess what? Whenever you think you're 10% of the way from your game, you're maybe halfway through, maybe halfway through. And investors have gotten savvy to that. They understand that like it's still going to be really hard, and if your team hasn't been reasonably capital efficient through the development process, unfortunately it's a pretty big black mark. So it's hard to kind of save a lot of those projects from the position they're in late stage development, when they still need a lot of capital, and that's even before they figured out how to scale. So capital efficiency number one, and build a fucking demo of your game that works, and then try to get capital.
Great stuff, John. We're going to move on to the next topic. Big deal, little deal, or no deal. Yield Guild Games announcing from the Wolves Den their new game, their very first in-house game, LOL.land. We actually have it on a TV. Perfect timing in the room if you guys haven't seen it before. They announced it here last night. It's going to be a Monopoly Go type game launching April 15th on Abstract. The initial launch has Pudgy Penguins IP, but Gabby also mentioned that other Web3 community IP will be integrated into the game. Players can earn YGG tokens and collect points to earn exclusive NFTs. Do we think this type of solo player casino style game is going to work in Web3? Is this something that we've been waiting for? Big deal, little deal, no deal on YGG building a DJ game featuring other Web3 IPs. Tony V with the hand up first.
Huge deal. Gabby doesn't miss. But seriously, I am like, could not be more bullish on this. I have a tremendous amount of respect for people and businesses that are able to pivot in the way that Gabby has. And I don't want to make it all about Gabby. The YGG team has got an incredible team. And the more people I interact with from the YGG organization, the more bullish I am that they're going to build $1 billion company. Marielle, the person running ecosystem and partnerships over there, is a killer. She's been running consultancies and helping people be successful for like seems like decades now. And I'm really, really excited to see what a disciplined, well-financed group of people with a strong vision, the way that YGG has, are able to execute. I really think that whoever was just talking, John, sorry, about having building some product market fit, building some presence, and then going and making a thing that you're going to ask people for money for. It feels like they've done that, and I think it's a huge deal.
Hell yeah, coming in hot. Let's go over to Will Spangler.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the classic route and go with a medium deal. I think games like these, and like looking at Monopoly Go, they had the backing of Scopely. Like that game had been in the cooker for some crazy amount of time. I think it was like 4 or 5 years. And you also have the Monopoly Go IP as well. That being said, everyone on this panel has sung the praises of the Pudgy team, and they know what they're doing. And I think that the success of this and any future projects that they partner with is going to be based off how does Pudgy approach this? How do they interlock this with the value of their NFTs and all of the other great stuff that they're working on? Because they're building an ecosystem. And how does this play into that? How are they going to provide values back to the player while also making that experience as fun as something like a Monopoly Go? You're going up and swinging against some of the biggest games in the traditional space. So I think it can be a really big deal. We just got to see how it plays out.
I'm going to send it to Koji next because he's a man who's building his own intellectual property and spreading it across multiple things. Koji, whenever you see Pudgy putting their IP in yet another game, does it make you feel like, wow, they're doing such a great job of building this intellectual property? Or does it get to a point where it's dilutive and it's kind of like it loses all the true value of doing it because it's not cool the 15th time whenever none of the games have been a massive hit yet, you know?
I mean, I think there's just different approaches, right? Like, our approach thus far at Parallel has been like very curative. It's just like these are the things that we want to put our stamp on, and we don't, as of yet, like allow other people to just take our characters and put them in the game. And we want to control it because we want to just sort of build our brand as like uh, we're very lore focused. We want people to focus on the world that we're building outside of just say the card game or the shooter or the whatever, but like fall in love with the characters and do the whole Star Wars thing or whatever. But if your brand is like cute cuddly characters and it's not really about trying to tell any sort of narrative or whatever, plastering your face on as many things as possible makes like a whole lot of sense. I think that it's not actually dilutive. You want to be everywhere. It's kind of like you go into a restaurant and you sit down and the menu has like a Budweiser sticker on it or something. When the waitress comes over, she's like, "Well, what are you having?" You're just like, "A beer." I don't know, Budweiser, right? Like it's just there front of mind, and I think that that's what Pudgy's trying to do. But I think this is a big deal because I know that Gabby and YGG they know the more casino style game, and the one thing that like I think we in sort of the traditional gaming space, non casino, will say that sort of discount is the idea that like taking in dollars USD and turning it into whatever currency this game is going to spit out is a huge benefit to the casino games. Like most casino games, you put in a dollar, you maybe get 90 cents out or whatever. But if you're converting those dollars to tokens, you can pay out much better than that. You can put in a dollar and get 99 cents out, right? And that's huge, especially in the casino world. The idea that the players can win more, but you're still taking it in and putting value into the token is like something that you can't really discount.
Great stuff, Coach. You love to get your insights on that. I'll send it back over now to Sinjin. Sinjin, big deal, little deal, no deal on YGG's announcement of LOL.land last night.
I think it's a medium deal. Sorry to break the game there. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, and I love when everyone gets into the gaming industry because we love the fucking misery. I wish them the best. I think they know their target market really well, so I'm not discounting. And the fact that it may be more casino oriented will probably bode well because at the end of the day, like the business model is pretty straightforward. So I like to look at it as like for YGG, I think it's great. I think it's a big deal for YGG. For the industry, like I'm really looking for like innovative stuff that's going to really push us forward as an industry. Maybe that's not really this, but for Abstract and for YGG, good on them. Good luck. And, put some ice on the bruises.
All right. Michael, Christine, big deal, little deal, no deal. YGG's announcement.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Sinjin here. I think it's a medium deal, and the reason for it is the niche of gamers who play casino type of games are a very specified niche of gamers. I think YGG is going to be very, very successful. I think they're very, very well run. But as an entire industry, is it going to push us forward? No, because I'm going to say the majority of gamers aren't really interested in casino style games. That's not really the games that they play. But again, huge deal for YGG. And also to talk about one of the things that Cairo said, for Pudgy Penguins, I actually slightly disagree with that. And the reason for it, and I'm going to use Marvel Rivals as an example. I know that so many people had no idea who Moon Knight was. And now so many people know who Moon Knight is because he's in Marvel Rivals in this giant game that's with all these other IPs. And people oftentimes forget that each and every one of these characters in Marvel Rivals is their own IP. And they're all just coming together to kind of like, all boats lift high tides, right? So it's like if you're able to kind of expose your IP to a bigger audience by essentially latching onto another game, I think that's a really huge benefit, especially if you're searching for that brand awareness, et cetera. So in general, do I think it's going to be a huge industry changer? No. Do I think it can make a ton of money? Absolutely. Do I look at Monopoly Go, which is the most successful mobile game in the world, as like a huge game changer? No, but at the end of the day, they're making the most money out of everybody. So, good on you. You're going to make a lot of money as a company. For the industry, it's going to be cool because it'll bring players back, but I don't know if it's going to do what people think it's going to do for the entire industry.
Great stuff, Michael. Kevin Lambert, big deal. You know the game mode.
I do. I don't think a lot of people acknowledge this, but crypto is kind of the world's greatest and biggest PvP, massively multiplayer online game, and we're all playing it every day. Right. And I think that a lot of game studios think that, well, because we and the traders are all PvP, that we have to build highly PvP games to appeal to them. And to some extent, that is true. But I love seeing games reach for a much wider audience. Like that's our hypothesis at Project O is like we want 100 million players, and you have to build differently to achieve that kind of scale or to even have the hope of getting there. So I think it's a big deal that YGG is going after a slightly different demographic with a more casual game approach. It's yet to be seen how well that resonates. But I know that Matt is also doing that at Sugartown. Like they're just trying things a little differently. It's not the standard MOBA, PvP experience. And I think we're going to see how that lands, and we're going to see if it can grab some Web2 people over, if the experience isn't just all about the finance, if it can be a great game as well. I think we have the chance to get Web 2 over with a bridge like that. So big deal for me.
Great stuff, Kevin. Let's go to John Radoff. Then we're going to go to Jerry, who's still a loner pants loser who's not at the house yet.
Well, I'm going to say medium deal, but only because everything's a medium deal in gaming until you find out a lot more about the market. But I will say a few things about this market of, we'll just call it like wagering or casino type games, but also just sort of the way game markets break down in general. I think it's a mistake to just think of gamers as one thing and then kind of say, well, this is what gamers want. Um, the biggest lesson around that was the emergence of free to play gaming back 12, 15 years ago, where we uncovered a huge market of hundreds of millions of players worldwide who wanted to play games that were not a traditional gamer. In fact, I remember because I ran a mobile game studio called Disruptor Beam. And the most annoying thing about being a mobile game studio at that era was being told, well, you don't really build real games, you just build mobile games. And it's sort of like that's what now you hear in Web3. Like, that's not a real game, that's a Web3 game, and we're not really going to call it a game. So that's kind of happening all over again. So there are always these enormous pockets of users anywhere in gaming where you can uncover these interesting markets. So the experiment just has to run to see if that's there. I mean, casino games, by the way, just like if you just look at it as a kind of a mobile game category for games that are not actually even wagering games like casino style online games, that's a multi-billion-dollar category within gaming. Gaming is a $200 billion market. Mobile is about half of that. Casino games is actually a very significant category within that. And this is people who are playing slot machine games, for example, for no actual reward other than sort of the dopamine hit of throwing a string of sevens on the screen once in a while. Like that's, and people dump tons of money into this stuff. So I wouldn't underestimate the size of any particular quote unquote niche in gaming. Niche isn't even the right word a lot of the times because these categories can be billions of
Dude, you haven't
dollars.
lived until you've hit that string of sevens, though.
Let's go to Jerry, then Knock will finish this topic up.
Hey, I am here, and I do have pants on, and I want to just say this is like a big deal. Because I really push back on people saying that like casino doesn't do well and it's a small genre or whatever. It's fucking enormous. It's for like the most rapid growing mobile sector for a couple years now. It's continually done well. It's going to continue to grow. But I would say the Infinigods guys are adjacent to that and doing pretty well. So, and also like this is all just a fucking giant casino anyway, right? So what are we doing saying we don't like casino games? This is all this is for now, until we get something more tangible. So I think that there's potential for this to do well, and I think Gabby knows exactly who he's targeting. I don't think this is meant for like mass consumption. This is meant for degens. This is meant for the people that are here that listen to this type of show, and it's the people like Dub that are going to stream on Abstract. So I think this is going to do phenomenally well for what it's intended to do. And I think when we look at it through the lens of like what is this supposed to do, and you can quantify it through that lens, this will do wonderfully. And I think this is a pretty big deal. And I'm excited to see YGG step into, the game making space themselves.
Knock, it sounds like everybody's collectively kind of bullish on the idea of them approaching this market, but does that make it a big deal for the rest of us that aren't necessarily financially incentivized by this game?
I think it might, and part of this is just like classic crypto, right? A couple of years ago, we're all excited about Bored Ape and Pudgy sort of announcing that they're going to open up licensing for people who own these assets to do whatever they want with them, and then we see things like Bored Ape coffee shops and Pudgy Penguin Games, and we're like, well, hold on, we don't actually want you to use the licensing. It's no longer bullish. I think it's a little insane that this is even a conversation that people are having on Twitter right now. Um, take that aside, right? You look at a company like Scopely, who at the end of, I believe it was 22, maybe 23, early 23, sold to the Saudis for about $5 billion. It was at the end of a very long string of massive acquisitions in the gaming business. And most people at the time thought that was a gross overpay for a company in the position that it was in. Then they hit Monopoly Go, which is reminiscent of what's being built here. Then they acquire the team at Stumble Guys. And now all of a sudden, Scopely is one of the biggest giants in the space. And we're very quickly in just an 18-month window talking differently about the potential outcome for a company like Scopely. So when you look at a team like YGG, who has had this audience for the last 4 years, who has had questing platforms and a bunch of game nights and basically just a massive data collection machine for the audience that they will be marketing this game towards when this launch in a month, it is absurd to me that people think that this won't do well. It won't be an incredibly efficient machine at taking money away from the people who are going to be playing it, and it's going to be a revenue driver. I also think it's a big deal, a huge deal, that a team like YGG is taking the leap into actually developing and bringing games to market because they are one of the few people in this ecosystem who don't need to find an audience. They've built it. They've done that part first. They've created an audience over the course of the last 4 years, a hyper specialized audience, an audience that they understand better than just about any other game developer in the ecosystem right now. And they're going to feed them a game that they know is going to be a hit. This isn't a we hope it works. This isn't a maybe our audience will like this game. This is something that they've built with intention, with purpose, because they know exactly what their audience wants to see. OCH did $1.5 million in revenue in season one. That game got absolutely eviscerated on the timeline because people assumed that it wasn't a big game. If YGG launches LOL.land and it doesn't do 3 to 5x that number in its first season, I will be absolutely shocked. I think you see massive success from this title. I'm hopeful that similar to what happened with Scopely and Monopoly Go, that this sort of reaffirms or cements YGG's assumption that maybe they should get into game development. And if they release, 5 to 10 of these games over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, yeah, maybe individually they're not industry changers, but on the aggregate, having a group like YGG that has shown a demonstrated ability to capture an audience, come into the space and start developing games is a massive moment for the industry. So I think it's a big deal because it's a first step towards something that might actually end up being an even bigger deal. And I think that they understand the game, they understand their audience, they know how to make sure that they're able to extract as much as possible from that audience and find rewards that make that audience happy. I don't know how this is anything other than a massive deal.
Let's go to Brad DeSanto, then we're going to move on.
I think LOL.land is going to crush it. I think, we talk a lot about product market fit. We talk rarely about genre market fit. I mean, you look at this category, I mean, it is probably the highest monetizing, highest grossing category in gaming, especially in mobile. It's a perfect fit for crypto. You talk about asset trading, you talk about ownership, you talk about wagering. I mean, it's a perfect fit on a lot of levels. And I think when you throw that into the powder keg that is abstract right now, which slowly is becoming a haven for gaming. I mean, you look at On-Chain Heroes, you look at Gigaverse. I mean, they are crushing it in the early innings, even in their infancy. So I think to bring the distribution of YGG plus the form factor of Luck Battle, meets Social Casino with mobile, into that platform, when you start to throw in the incentives, you talk about abstract XP, you talk about YGG rewards. I mean, I think it's basically programmed that this does well on a short time horizon. And by the way, I think it's very realistic to say that, this game, could become the biggest game in Web3 quite quickly, with the Pudgy IP behind it on Abstract. So it's a pretty interesting value stack when you think about what Luca's trying to do, what Abstract's trying to do. The question I have is, what is their commitment to this title over the longer term? Will they pour UA budget into this? Do they have the aspirations to grow this into Web 2? Or is it purely, a rewards capture around Abstract and XP in the near term? I think that remains to be seen, but super bullish on this choice and I think pretty exciting.
Tim, it's your turn to speak normally.
Thanks, brother. All right, what's the word for Palworld devs being quote unquote caught off guard by Nintendo's lawsuit? First, to add some context here, this isn't a new lawsuit. It's the same one that was filed last year. It's still ongoing, but their team disclosed more info at GDC this week. The lawsuit specifically focuses on 3 patent infringements, namely capture mechanics plus monsters as vehicles, aka mounts, I guess, and are not focused on their IP copyright. The Palworld devs say they specifically checked and rechecked with legal counsel to ensure they could move forward with the game, and they received sign off from Japanese law, whatever that means. Most people, including the Palworld team, assumed the potential issues would come via copyright on the monsters themselves, but should they have prepared themselves for the lawsuit anyway, given that clearly they were inspired by Pokemon whenever they made this game? Regardless, they haven't stopped shipping updates, and although the lawsuit has been a blocker for their PlayStation release, what's the word for Palworld and this lawsuit? Koji, I'm going to you first.
I mean, I think the word is actually incredible. They should have prepared a little bit better, I suspect, because Nintendo's known to be super litigious. Like anyone who wants to try and make like a homegrown Zelda on UE5 or whatever gets shut down within 30 seconds. So like, they should have expected something. But like, honestly, I think Nintendo's just giving them a megaphone at this point. Like the fact that this just keeps coming up is probably more bullish for them than anything else. Because if Nintendo just let it lie, probably would have faded away into the darkness.
Michael Christine giving a verbal thumbs down. Over to you.
Yeah, so I have to disagree. First off, a little biased here as a Nintendo publisher, but this lawsuit could absolutely kill Palworld. We saw it last year with Only Up. Only Up was on its way to make tens of millions of dollars. Tens of millions of dollars. But then they got sued because of all this infringement for the different assets and things like that they use in the game. So this lawsuit could absolutely destroy Palworld. Nintendo does have a really good claim with its capture device patent, even though they recently filed it. It's been something that's been a very identifiable thing for Pokemon and the brand for quite some time. The Pokeball is such a very notable thing, so they might really have legs there, and Palworld could be in trouble there. The mount aspect a little different, and in terms of preparation, you can get as many legal opinions as you want about why you think this is legal or why you think you're in the right there. But at the end of the day, the judge decides whether or not those opinions matter. In Japan, I can tell you that they aren't as binding as they are in the US. So like in the US, if you get a legal opinion, it's kind of like a protection as to like what you're doing, especially if you get like 3, 4, or 5 of them. You can kind of basically say, hey, I trusted my like a professional to like guide me through this regulation. However, in Japan, totally different story. If you're wrong, and you're going to pay the penalty. And I can tell you that Japan's going to protect Nintendo. And I also, again, agree with everything Nintendo is doing, and I think Palworld should enter into a settlement with them.
Michael, blink twice if you're allowed to freely share your opinion. Let's go over to Dub next.
Man, dude, I don't know how these guys aren't in crypto. These are my kind of fucking founders, dude. Like, take the goddamn risks. Like, I heard a rumor that they didn't even care in the development or thought about the IP infringement on Pokemon at all. And like these are just my guys that I'd expect to see building the latest Ponzi game on Abstract or something like that. So hopefully they live past this and we get to see them build in the crypto in the future, because that's inevitable for that team.
Gotta imagine, even if they end up taking a hit from the lawsuit, that they're still going to be way better off financially than they would be without using some of that IP to leverage what ended up being one of the smash hits of last year. Sinjin, I'm going to you, brother. What's the word for this lawsuit between Palworld and Nintendo?
Yeah, naivety. You can fuck around with a lot of things, but when you fuck around with any kind of IP from a major, company, and you're in the same space, I mean, that's just asking for trouble. And I'm sure they got the legal opinion. I'm sure it was okay. But the reality is that when a big company gets their sights on you, right, and they put the lawyers on, maybe, yeah, for what they looked at, it was okay. But then if Nintendo wants to fuck you up, or a major corporation, they're gonna dig, and they're gonna fucking dig deep. I've been part of lawsuits involving major corporations, and they put the whole fucking law firm on you, and in like less than 24 hours they drop a 200-page document on your lap with like the lawsuit, like infringement and whatever like this. Now 98% of that is all bullshit, right? But the fact of the matter is you got to go and deal with that. And so even if they did get the legal opinion, like, I mean, it's a whole thing. Like, you can look at Hermes or any of the big luxury brands. They're going to protect themselves any which fucking way that they can, right? So if you're going to launch something as an indie game, yeah, great. Like, fantastic. You're looking for inspiration. That's great. But then you need to also take the risk with the IP. Even if you don't think like it's directly infringing, or it's like a fan, whatever based kind of IP, which there's a lot of games like that, right? You may think it's an homage to it, but the brand holders don't. So like, suggestion to everybody, like, if you're gonna do it, be inspired, but like, look at where you're taking things, and if there's any way that there's an overlap or there's a threat, and especially Nintendo's history, they were pretty naive about it, honestly.
Seems accurate from my point of view. Lems.
Honestly, my word is surprising, because I thought for sure when this lawsuit happened it was going to be IP. I don't think anyone doubted it wouldn't be IP. And the fact that they can't get IP on this one kind of feels like maybe Nintendo are taking a shot where they can try and get one, because mounts like are in so many different games. I don't know how they're trying to claim a patent on mounts. The Pokeball capturing thing is, there's similarities there, so I can get it on that one. But man, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I'm rooting for Palworld just to go against Nintendo and just fuck with Nintendo, because they try and sue everyone. So it would be nice to see them, get the W on it.
Lems wants anarchy. Michael wants order. Michael has the hand back up. Over to you, bud.
Yeah, no, it's just to kind of comment on like the legal aspect of this with the IP. It's so hard for Nintendo to prove that the IP is theirs, because there's so many ways you can make a water type monster. You got to remember, Pokemon means pocket monster. There's only a certain amount of ways you can make this monster, and so many people are gonna design things that look kind of similar, because how many times can you remake this lizard? So that was really a losing argument for them. But if you know anything about like gaming patents, for example, the most famous patent in the world, the Nemesis patent that Warner Bros. Holds, gaming patents are very, very strong. And I can tell you that all these Japanese companies protect their patents like it's their lives. So Nintendo, being a very litigious company, is going to go after them. And yes, I hope they kind of come to an agreement. I think Power is a really, really cool game, but they do have a lot of evidence against them with the Pokeball thing, and that could essentially be what is Power World's undoing.
Sorry, all these notifications didn't allow me. I'm too popular, guys. Can't get to my microphone. Knock, over to you. What's the word?
Yeah, the word here is craftsmanship, and on the side of the fucking author of this article, let's be real here. For a year and a half, we all assumed that this was an IP lawsuit. It's not. And of course, a team who looked through the legalese here to figure out whether or not they had potential risk of exposure here, they talked about IP in courts. They got opinions that they would be okay. Turns out that is correct. They're okay from a perspective of IP. They're getting nailed by a patent that was filed in May of 2024. I am not surprised that a team is surprised that they are getting nailed for something that didn't exist when they launched their thing. This is an article that is playing on the fact that for the last 2 years, we all thought that this was an IP infringement. It's not. It's a patent infringement on the capture mechanic and the mounts mechanic. The latter doesn't make any fucking sense to me at all because a ton of games have mounts. But even on the side of the capture mechanic, in Japan, it was filed in May of 2024. And in the USA, it is actively in the process of being filed. So it does not even exist. The question was, what's the word for this team being surprised? It's not naivety. This is a team that did their due diligence, found that there was nothing wrong with their current approach, which is evident by the fact that they're not being nailed from an IP perspective. And they're now being hit by something that didn't even exist when they filed this. Yes, they should have known that a company like Nintendo was going to come after them. Yes, Nintendo is notorious for being extremely litigious and shutting down absolutely everything about anything. When anybody tries to take any amount of liberties with their IP, you see this in the Smash community that gets shut down all the time for tournaments and things of that nature. Of course, Nintendo was going to try something, but to be surprised you're being sued for something that didn't exist when you launched your thing is not naivety to me. That's probably grounds for surprise. So I think that this is an incredible article from the person who wrote this. This is playing on the fact that everybody just sort of assumed that this was an IP lawsuit, and we got a little more information this week at GDC when the guys from Palworld kind of accidentally let this slip that this is a lawsuit about patents. I think it's pretty interesting and good on the author because it's a fucking incredible
They
Do we
article.
think?
they
Oh,
also did market this as Pokemon with guns. So what did they think was gonna happen?
yeah. Do we think that Nintendo saw this and they were like, that game is too much like ours? Can we get them on IP? No. What else can we get them on? Yeah, mounts good. What about that patent? Cool. Let's spin it up. Like, do you think that's how this played out?
Don't look at me, man. I don't fucking know.
I can tell you as a lawyer, that's exactly how it played out. They kind of you basically look at it, you see where our strongest arguments. It's like, okay, we hate them because they're making Pokemon with guns, but we can't get them on the IP infringement. Where else can we kind of get them at? And so that's really what we're seeing right now happen. And they have way more money than Palworld does. So I have a feeling Nintendo's going to come out the winner, which they should in this instance. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think one thing, Sam, just if I might, just one thing that's important to understand here, I think, is that they don't even need to win the lawsuit. Like they have infinite amount of resources. They can just bleed Pal World dry before this ever gets to a stage where we figure out whether or not they have a case. So a company like Nintendo knows that. So the idea that they're filing the lawsuit on a patent that didn't exist at the time that this game launched shouldn't surprise anybody because they have more money than God and they can take you to court forever until your company doesn't exist.
Michael, just to double click really quickly, is there a world in which Power World is able to walk away with some money here still, or when you say bleed them dry, does that literally mean like they're just going to sue them into bankruptcy whether or not it settles and they have to give Nintendo money?
I personally think how this is going to end is absolutely in a settlement because Power World is going to realize we don't have enough money to fight this, and what Nintendo's going to draw the conclusion is they literally marketed this game as Pokemon with guns. They're making clear representations that this was a comparison to Pokemon, which kind of totally defeats any argument Power World can make about infringing on their capture ball patent. And so, what's likely going to happen is the judge is going to rule in favor of Nintendo. Uh, it's going to be the biggest judgment in the world. So they're going to try to get ahead of that by either being acquired by Nintendo or signing some kind of agreement that like changes things drastically for Power World. But like I said, again, we see this happen all the time in gaming. Only Up this happened to last year, and Only Up doesn't exist anymore for a reason. So we'll see what happens to these guys. I do think they have a bright future, but they might have to give up all the money that they made from Power World back to
Did
Nintendo.
they actually market it as Pokemon with guns though, or is that like the UGC kind of content
No.
creator?
They did market from their actual own socials, Pokemon with guns. So that's where I kind of see them getting banged because you literally went up and went against the Titan, and now you're surprised that the Titan is coming and stepping on your head. So
I mean, in another world, they're just making their sixth failing game, and instead they're now a globally known studio. They were the hot girl in the room for 2 years, and on top of that, you're saying they might get acquired by Pokemon. So that's a pretty good failure from my point of
not
view.
bad.
Let's go over to John Radoff.
So I'm not a lawyer, but I've unfortunately been in enough lawsuits to have learned a couple of things about them. One is they're super unpredictable. A lot of things could come out in the course of this. For example, a whole bunch of prior art on the patent could be discovered that totally demolishes it, and they decide that they'd rather just have a confidential settlement for that to not come to light. That would be one thing. It could go all the way to a judge who's like, Okay, Pokeball, just turn it into a cube, guys, and you're fine. Like stuff like that can happen. But the money part is a big one too, which is they're super expensive. It's going to be millions of dollars, at least tens of millions, more likely to actually wage a serious IP battle over this. And Palworld, they've made a decent amount of money, but they really haven't made that much money that they can do that over a period of years. But here's what can also happen in the game industry. They shut the company down. The team walks across the street, starts a new company. Yeah. They're the famous team, just now, like Sam was referring to. And it's like from the creators of Palworld, here's our new game. They probably couldn't be prevented from doing that.
That's why we make LLCs, right, boys? Let's go over to Charlie Blackstock. We're doing what's the word here? What's the word for this lawsuit? And we want to move on to the next
Yeah.
topic. So let's keep it short for the next four hands we have here. Great to have you, Charlie.
Thanks, brother. I think my word is bullshit. Like, I think patent laws are like one of the most abused forms of legal practices in the world. They are not used at all for their original intent. There's tons of really shitty practices that just really fuck small startups and protect incumbents. Like a lot of patent laws, you can actually like just always shovel new stuff into an old or existing patent, which most people don't realize is you usually get credit for a patent at the date it gets licensed, and then you can start backfilling a bunch of other stuff that wasn't even in it in the first place and then get credit for it. And I think also with game design and game mechanics, I think it's just like, the Pokemon with guns, you're just describing how 99% of all games work. Like most games are like a game plus this one unique spin-off. Like that's just gaming, that's content, that's creativity, that's apps, or the Uber for dogs or like whatever it might be. Like that's how like a lot of human creativity works is an N+1 derivative. And so I don't think this stuff should be defensible at all. I think it's fucking disgusting. It makes me hate Nintendo. I think Sinjin is right. It's naive to think that this wouldn't happen. Like Nintendo showed their cards a bunch of times. I just want something to break the camel's back on patent laws. Like I think these things just have to change. It's the most abused business practice like in the world. I feel like you can only make an argument for them to really exist and really research heavy industries like medicine and things like that. I think they have no place in technology. They have no place in gaming. Game mechanics are all copied and shared, and I don't think that's the real defensible thing. I think the IP is the defensible thing. If they're not getting sued for IP, then fuck them. Like I think it's bullshit.
Lawyers only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting. That was Charlie Blackstock right there. Sinjin, what's the word, brother?
Yeah, I love to live in the generation you guys are. You're so in your own reality of naivety and everything's got to be fair and shit. Like, what a wonderful life you guys have been brought up into. Let me give an
He's
example, you dumb
communist.
nuts.
Okay,
All right.
boomer. Okay,
Yeah, here we
brother.
go. Here we go. So you guys are the kind of guys that go to a bar, you see a really hot lady, and he's got a really, really angry dude right beside him. He's huge. He's as big as Jerry, but he's roided out. And she comes up to you, you smile at her, you wink at her a little bit because you're that kind of guy. And you say to her, "Hey, are you with anybody?" And she's like, "No." And it's like, "Well, what about that guy who's like glaring at us?" Oh, like, yeah, we're broken up actually for a couple of months now. We're just, he's just accompanying me. He's my ex-boyfriend, but we're all cool. And you're like, "Are you sure?" Like he's really looking at me, really like whatever. It's like, nah, we're cool. It's good. I give you all the assurances in the world. It's totally fine. And you make your move and you get your head kicked in. All right. This is what's happened here. Okay.
Did
Like
did
if you
you
guys don't watch Succession or Billions or what, I don't know what you guys are watching, House of Cards. Like this is real life. You're gonna go up with Nintendo and you're gonna like take that IP and you're gonna say like Pokemon with guns or whatever like that. What the fuck you think you're gonna happen? And I hope you boys and girls out there, I mean, like, please take this example. In real life, you go to a biker bar or a cowboy bar, and you ain't no cowboy or biker, and you pull that shit, you are going to get your asses kicked. And this is what fucking happened right here. Knock, please, man. I can't protect you against many, many people. One guy, maybe, but whole host of big motherfuckers, man, you're on your own.
Even the Titan of Taboo doesn't want the Nintendo smoke. Let's go over to Knock, and then Spang will finish this one up.
I think one of the biggest issues with the Nintendo company and Pokemon in particular is that the most exciting thing that's come out of this company in the last 20 years is this lawsuit. Like from a Pokemon perspective, this is tiring as fuck. The only thing that's exciting about Pokemon are things that Nintendo are trying to play whack-a-mole with lawsuits. Like we're talking about like Kaizo, which are mods on Fire Red that a bunch of people are streaming right now. We saw Pokemon with guns. It's the most exciting part of Pokemon. And I think that that's probably part of the reason why they're so fucking spiteful here, because they haven't innovated on the genre or in the game itself in like 10 years. Yeah, nothing of interest or education there. Just wanted to poke some fun at Nintendo because Pokemon with Guns is the best version of Pokemon in the last 20 years.
Nintendo,
Yeah,
if
you
you're
keep
listening, he
poking
doesn't mean
fun
it.
while you buy
I
those
can't protect you,
151
knock.
packs every
Yeah,
other
yeah. So
day and
cards, I'll
spend
defend
your
them to
life
the end of my
savings.
days. All right, I don't need any innovation there. They're perfect as they are.
Spangler, over to you, bud.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Like, we're all aware that Palworld copied the fuck out of Pokemon. Like, just as at a ground level, that is what happened. There's the legal intricacies that we can definitely debate, and that's what's going on right now. But it's so clear from the designs, from the way that they approach things, they didn't want to make their own IP. They weren't looking for this to be some big new thing. And I think that that's the reason, like, you know, if there's a word, my word is an image, and it's that shocked Pikachu face, because it's like, of course this was going to happen. I think that they just weren't expecting it to blow up in the way that they did, and now they're trying to cover their ass, because, you know, there are games that have tried to do Pokemon differently in a way that was respectful of the traditional IP. They built out new kinds of monster designs and new experiences within that. Palworld's definitely a new experience, but the core problem is everyone looks at that and goes, "Oh wow, how did they copy Pokemon?" And Nintendo wants to set a precedent, and that's exactly what I think they're going to do. But you know, whatever the terms end up being, and whatever the law is around this, let's just acknowledge what's actually happened.
Jerry, the last hand up. Let's go to you real quick.
Yeah, look, I think this GDC has taught me one thing. In the video game industry, it's really good to be like a giant player, and it's really good to be a small player that is having like enough success. It's real shitty right now in the games market to be like a mid-sized player because things like this happen to you, right? So the patent is for that Nintendo has that one of that they're trying to enforce is like flying mounts that also can walk, right? Well, you know, we all play World of Warcraft. We know that that's in there, and they're infringing on that patent, right? But what does Blizzard have? Enough money to defend themselves in court, right? And what did Palworld get all of a sudden? Enough money to be worth suing, right? If this game never popped off, nobody would be suing them. Nobody would give a fuck. But they sold a game that went viral. They made a lot of fucking money, but not enough money to be able to defend themselves well. They can just get outsued. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like we're talking about the games industry, and I think like this is kind of indicative of what the games industry is like. If you're huge, you fucking love this market. If you're small but good enough to make a little bit of money, you fucking love this market. If you're anywhere in between that, if you're part of the 80% with that's inside of that, you're getting fucking eaten alive by both ends. You're getting fucking DP'd by the big and small guys, you know? So this industry is just fucking, you know, this is the state of like 2025 in games. This is a perfect example of that. Don't be a
Don't be
fucking
a
mid-sized
knock.
player.
Yeah.
Jerry, I thought the one thing that GDC taught you was to party too hard and skip out on your friends in the morning, brother.
Meanwhile, we're just getting human centipeded here as the middle the middle of the road. Avalanche, by the way, is the king of gaming chains, the official chain of Gamified. Join us for a shivering shootout and try Shatterline and Off the Grid, two of the hottest games on the coolest chain. They're conquering the cool with the cutting edge technology and a community that's frosty as it is fierce. So bundle up, bring your A game, and craft your very own L1s to service all of your blockchain gaming needs. And giddy up, gamers, get ready to gallop into Game 7 Nation, the glorious gaming galaxy where players pack a punch. They've signed over 150 games with 30 million wallets ready to rumble with their mega MetaMask partnership. Come join the digital nation and get your citizenship so you can level up your life. Thank you to Game 7 for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. And of course, this isn't your average space sim. This is a cosmic cocktail of stunning visuals, deep strategy, and player owned everything. So build your very own spaceship armada and explore uncharted worlds with your friends on Star Atlas, the official game of Gamified. But it isn't just about spaceships and lasers. It's about building a community, a galactic civilization where players rewrite the rules. So if you're ready to trade your boring Earth life for a cosmic adventure, join the Star Atlas fleet today and hop in the Discord to grab a game key. Thanks again for being the official game. Would you rather live in a world of rampant speculation or accurate company valuations? I think it's fair to say most of us are aware of the crazy overvaluations that speculation drive in this market, specifically in Web3 or, excuse me, on chain gaming. Shout out to Michael.
Let's go.
Businesses with businesses with no revenue having comparable or sometimes even higher valuations than their Web 2 counterparts. I would say typically higher valuations than their Web 2 counterparts. Is this part of the fun and attraction of the space? Will we accept the madness and embrace the speculation and volatility that comes with it? Or is it better to have more grounded and realistic company valuations like Web 2 companies have with much less price volatility? Would you rather rampant speculation or fair valuations? Let's go to Chuck Stock first.
Go someone else. I need more time to collect my thoughts. Let's go to Knock. Over to Knock.
Joe, I'll be the one to say it. Anybody who's going to pretend that they want accurate valuations is a fucking liar. Part of the reason why you come here is to raise money because you know that there won't be accurate valuations. You're going to get capital significantly easier than you did in the Web 2 market. And let's be real, most of the games in the space aren't live, so their accurate valuation is pretty much most of the time less money than they fucking raised. So, yes, I mean, speculation in Web3, I say this all the time, you have to play the game in this business. If you're not, you're losing already. It just there's no way to come into Web3 and not play speculation. It's a feature, it's not a bug. Everybody here wants speculation because it's why people have been able to raise so much money. It's why people are able to take incredible risks and push innovation in this industry. And it's part of the reason why there's money to begin with anyway, because those VCs and a lot of the liquidity providers are there because they want to take that speculative guess on a brand new industry. Pretending you want an accurate valuation is fucking stupid because your company is worth less than the money you've raised.
I want to go over to Sinjin next so I can hear him say, "Oh, knock you dirty fucking capitalist, you motherfucker."
Dirty bastard, capitalistic pig. Nah. But I want to sing a phrase. I'm a loser, baby. So why don't you kill me? But honestly, speculation in every single high growth industry in the history of mankind has always been there, and that absolutely, whether it's like the quest for the new world and bringing that silver over, or railroads, radios, TVs, it all happens. Cars, and speculation is very healthy in order to get that capital, that attention in, and to start it. But there's this transition point where you do want accurate, valuations because, you need some sanity. You need that speculation money to actually make a return. And that's only going to happen, if it goes to the right companies. And that's what obviously the ones that haven't launched are the ones that, who would get an accurate valuation now would be lower than, the value of, with the money they've taken in. Absolutely. That's totally true. Right. But when we get to that point in the industry, and I think we're getting to it very close, you want the accurate valuation because it's really showing like who really knows what they're talking about, and it's not just the dream of like whatever that they kind of imagine, but it's really based off of revenue. I'm on that camp where we're built out for revenue. We want to launch. We've tried to play the speculative game. We saw the risk for it because that risk, in order to get that speculative capital, would impact how we make our revenue. And for me, that's not acceptable. For other people who are smoking mirrors, that's absolutely, acceptable because that's the only way they're going to raise money. And the chances of them actually making any money is close to nil. But, I think it's natural for an industry to go through that, especially high growth. You need that high speculation to get that attention, but it shouldn't be forever and it shouldn't be the norm. If you look at the stock market, yeah, you can say it's a big casino, but the real casino has always been the penny stocks, right? That still continues, but it's, it's fucking nothing compared to the real fucking market. And that's where the fucking dirtiest capitals like Knock will be hiding out with the fucking penny cryptos.
Filthy capitalist Knock. I'm going over to Kevin Lambert next. Would you rather fair valuation or speculation, and not just for money and whatever, but like also we have to consider the health of the industry, the long term. So let's extrapolate a little bit here.
I'm gonna give a crappy answer. I want to live in a hybrid world. I agree with Knock that if you're not playing the game that exists and is not a bug but a feature, then you're not taking full advantage of that. However, that game has been so rampant in Web3 and the trust us bro culture with token before game for the last 2 years that I really want to see the levers start to swing in the other direction of a little bit of execution culture, a little proof of that, what's the experience going to be like before you bring in this bit. Like, go ahead and put the speculation in, because the market participants are here who thrive on that and want that, but don't lead with it. Like, do a little bit of work on your own, show what you can do, and then go ahead and play the game.
That's right, Kevin. You tell him.
Thanks, Sinjin.
Jerry, what would you rather, speculation or fair valuation?
Yeah, rampant speculation, because when that was happening, at least we weren't all sitting around depressed at these conferences being like, ah, fucking when is this gonna come back? Wish it would turn around. It's like, I feel like there was a more idealistic time when we all believed in something, and then fucking prices go down like 6% and you guys all fucking lose it. So, I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, or some shitty reality that we actually live in, it's probably both. I'm not like mid curve Kevin over here. But I think like this industry operates better when everybody's like really excited about things. But yeah, I mean, as far as the question goes, like, do I want rampant speculation or accurate representation? It's like asking me if I'd rather get punched in the face or kicked in the balls. It's like I don't want to do either of them. I want to live in the middle of all that.
Let's go over to John Radoff, then to Michael Christine.
So, kind of funny story. When Bitcraft led the Series A and Beamable, which was only a few weeks back, one of the things they told me in making their decision is that we were considered kind of a contrarian play because there was so much substance and like actual revenue in what we were doing, and that's kind of weird to launch a token against, because it suggests that we might be held up against fundamentals in some way. But fundamentals don't currently matter in any token for the most part, like other than maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum actual usage levels and how widely it's held kind of matters. But below that, not a lot. So, there's this old Benjamin Graham quote about how in markets, in the short term, they're voting machines, in the long term, weighing machines. And I think that will be true in crypto as well. So the answer is kind of a why not both kind of answer, in that if we're talking about what alpha actually means, alpha means identifying the things that you think are undervalued now so that later they'll be worth a lot more because the market weighs them appropriately. So you never really want things to be weighed appropriately in the short term if you're an investor. You want to be able to find those opportunities for a lot of growth. And I'd say one of those really, really interesting categories right now is looking out there in the market to see all of the projects that have actual utility. They're scaling usage. They've got a good, not just tokenomics, but token flow, like an actual token economy that works. Find those where it's working, but undervalued. Those are really, really interesting projects. And I don't know that I'm one of those, by the way. We haven't even launched our token yet. It's months away. Hopefully it'll go well. But yeah, fundamentals don't matter yet, but maybe that's good if you want to be an investor.
Michael, the safeguard of Nintendo. What say you?
The bastion of Nintendo says, no, I think it's a double-edged sword, because I think personally that speculation helps drive innovation. If you don't believe that you can make 100x on something, why am I going to take a risk on you as a founder? However, I do think it hurts the retail investor, because retail is like, oh, this speculation is great. I'm also going to make 100x, but they don't have the other investments that are going to hedge their bets like the big boys do. So I really think it's a balance here, that we need speculation to drive that innovation, to really give these projects a shot. Because if you are a big boy and you do have the deep pockets, that means like if it fails, at least you have these other bets that you're hedged against. But if you're a retail and you're like, I'm putting my last penny in this one singular game that hasn't launched yet because I think it's going to be the next Genshin Impact, then guess what? I bet 10 times or 9 times out of 10 you're going to be disappointed. But when it comes to the other side, the deep pockets, that 1 out of 10 time is going to cover all 9 of their other bets that failed. But here we see retail just getting crapped on and crapped on and crapped on over and over again, because oftentimes they're not equipped with the proper tools to evaluate an investment and evaluate a project the same way that the big boys are. And they don't understand that, yes, the big boy might have invested in them, but they understand that they also have all these other investments to hedge their bets against. So I think it's a really huge double-edged sword. I think if the speculation goes on for too long, we're going to risk losing all of retail. Not all, but a lot of it. And that, in my opinion, is bad. But in the initial to drive that initial innovation, like you need that speculative element, because if that carrot isn't there, that I'm going to make generational wealth off this company, then why the hell am I going to take the risk in the first place?
I just got to jump on part of that quickly, though, which is the dirty truth of venture capital is that while they aspire to these 100x returns, very, very few funds actually perform at that level. It's actually a terrible performing asset class overall. Like there's many other asset classes that institutional investors could put capital in that historically return at a much greater rate than venture capital. Where it's interesting to think about, though, is like the opportunity to get those 100x returns is also limited to a very select group of funds, pension funds, ultra rich. And those are the people who have historically invested in venture capital. The ability to actually get a 100x return is virtually impossible outside of crypto. There's a few stocks, like I invested in, just pure luck, by the way, NVIDIA like 15 years ago. That's been a 100x return for
Flex.
me. But that, yeah, hell yeah, let's go. But it's the only one. It's the only one. All right. But it's the only place that really makes that kind of return possible to the general public, and I think that's exciting. And if venture capitalists want to make a 100x return, why not give the everyman the ability to do the same thing?
Let's just teach all of
Most
retail
people,
to hedge their bets with 9 meme coins in a game.
Retail, stop
Uh,
falling for pretty marketing videos. Look for something more.
Most people here can't understand holding onto an asset for 15 years. They're not even old enough, man.
let's go to Lems, then we'll double back to Koji.
Might have been 12.
I'm going to second Kevin's here. Like, we can definitely have a hybrid model. I feel like a lot of the time people talk about crypto, it's like this is the only speculative asset in existence, which is like far from the truth. People collect Pokemon cards, sports cards, shoes, like you name it. There's like something you can speculate on. So like people want things that they can speculate on price appreciation. Realistic valuations are kind of boring, as Nox said. That's not why people come into the space, but maybe we're a little bit extended where we kind of go too far out on the speculative side with no real fundamental underlying thing. But there's probably a nice healthy medium there where we can actually have something that most people don't just get wrecked on and it's super speculative, but there's still enough speculation to make it fun.
Koji, over to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's here now is in the speculative side of things, and if you're building something, you probably want that speculative element to keep going. But once you've built your product and you feel like you have something rock solid, you should definitely be voting for calmer waters, because the only way that retail is going to come in and like everyone's talking about investment. We make games, right? Like we need players, right? And the only way those people are going to come in is if the waters are a lot calmer and things actually make sense, right? And all you have to do is go back and look at like early internet. And I know I've told this story a long time and a bunch of times, and I talk about being an old man or whatever, but there was a time when people were like, don't use your real name, don't use your credit card on the internet, right? And that was definitely true because it was a dangerous thing to do. But once all the insane speculation left in like the Web 1 era, and the Amazons and the Googles and whatever took over the world, like you put your credit card in on the internet like 100 times a day, and so I think that like once enough products are built in this space and it makes sense, and hopefully we're all one of those products, then we should all be hoping for less speculation and more calm waters.
Totally was here the whole time. Over to Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I think like my only contrarian take here is I think we're already in like the fairest market that exists in the world. Like everyone can participate in this freely. I think it's a lot of stuff is out in the open, and so I think like the speculation is just built into incredibly fair markets, and we just see the extremes of it on bull markets. Everything rushes to like a terminal valuation as fast as humanly possible, and people are like, yeah, everyone basically overshoots their skis. Then we have this moment of reflection to come back and be like, maybe these things aren't worth that much. But I also think market caps in crypto are like one of the most misunderstood like value props, or like misunderstood data points. Like just because the last token sold at X price doesn't mean that there's enough liquidity to support that market cap. Just because something has a $80 million market cap doesn't mean it really has an $80 million market cap. If there's not enough liquidity or volume to support that price, it really doesn't have that market cap. And so I think we get too attached to like its valuation at the last time some guy put 75 cents into a token and be like, oh, it's worth this much. But it's like, If it $100,000 moves the price by $50 million, then it didn't have that market cap in the first place. And so I think it's a really misunderstood metric. People don't really associate, like we associate it too much with traditional equities and New York stocks and those securities, which have way more volume and liquidity. And that's just not crypto. But I already think it's the fairest place in the world. I think speculation is built into very fair markets, and crypto's the best. Fuck fiat. Let's go.
Fair markets, the level of naivety.
Fuck you, Sinjin. I heard that, you bitch. I'm gonna come fight you. I just got here. I'm gonna fucking beat your ass.
I love
Fuck
it.
Fiat Gang, stand up. Let's go to Knock.
Yeah, this is going to provide absolutely zero additional context to this conversation. I just wanted to point out that Koji, Charlie, and Jerry are all wearing the same, some variation of the exact same shirt, and it's not a branded shirt. Charlie's is a little fuzzy. Jerry's has a different color on it. Look at this. Look, he just walked in. I just wanted to point that out. Oh, excuse me.
Take a picture of all these things.
Madness is breaking out. Spang, over to you.
Look at this team over here. Team socialism over there. The average crypto bro.
Oh my God, madness breaking out. All right, guys, real quick, last topic of the day, last topic that we're doing our MVP voting. Over under Steam to 100 million active users by 2030. Steam currently has now hit 40 million concurrent active users on the platform, a new all-time high
Oh,
after 2 decades of that number steadily climbing higher and higher. In 2015, it was around 9 million. In 2020, it was around 23 million. And now in 2025, we have 40 million concurrents on the platform at the same time. Over under 100 million 5 years from now, 2030. Sinjin, I see you working that mute button. Over to you, bud.
Yeah, definitely under. I mean, yeah, it's just the way the games are going. I mean, they need another hit like Dota 2 to really boost up that numbers and stuff like that, and that's just not really going to happen. You know, maybe we could see like another 10 million more or whatever like that. But you know, with the trend of these kind of almost forever games that people just don't want to get rid of and play, I mean, we're pretty much there. And then who knows what kind of mediums are going to come out that are going to trump PC. I know there are a lot of developers coming back to PC because of the retention costs and mobile and just the economics work out better for indie developers and for middle-sized developers and stuff like that. But who knows with AI? But I think it, you know, the attention gets more dispersed rather than concentrated moving forward.
You say that, but I just saw a new concurrent record also for CSGO. Who knows? Maybe we just have 5 million people playing that instead of only 2. Let's go over to John Radoff next.
I think under, but I think the reason is just because there's going to be more and more competition on distribution channels. So I'm super bullish on PC gaming as a platform. I think it's an awesome platform. It's really the only last open platform, by the way. Like you have consoles and mobile and all these devices really lock down what you're able to do, how you can monetize, even what you can build. So the decentralization ethos is actually alive and well in PCs as well as web browsers in a way that I think is very exciting, and a lot of developers keep wanting to go there. But you know, as powerful as Steam is, it's not the only game in town in terms of game distribution. So I think the more important metric would be what is the worldwide concurrency of PC gamers overall. And I actually don't know what that number is. It's Steam gives us a good insight to it, but that would be interesting to calculate. We should try to figure that out and guess that number.
Great stuff from John Radoff. Let's go over to Koji Nagata.
I'm gonna dissent and go with over for a couple of reasons. One, people will always be fucking, you know. So like the population size, the population size is just going to continue to grow. So there's going to be more gamers, and inevitably there's going to be more PC gamers. And you know, we've seen a rise in things like you know, the Steam Deck, but like the A and Neo, all these like handheld PC console hybrid things that make a lot of sense because rather than waiting like 8 years for the next console, you can just keep buying upgrades and place a lot of the latest shit, and it looks pretty good. So I think with that, Steam will hold supremacy and continue to grow users. And even if there is competition from other platforms. I do think that as more gamers enter the market, there will be more people on Steam.
Web3 fucking is inevitable, right from Koji's mouth. Let's go over to Will Spangler.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under on this because I think that for all the reasons that Jesus fucking Christ. For all the reasons that John outlined in terms of distribution, like that's the real thing that's going to be growing over the next few years. I think we've kind of become not complacent because lots of people are trying to fix it, but from a gamer's perspective, no one really cares where the games are coming from. But we're really starting to see the effects of these limited distribution channels on mobile, and how they affect the games that can grow there, and people are making their voices heard with their wallets on the kinds of games that they want to see, and it's just not the games that are being made right now. And Steam, and one of the reasons Steam does so well is because they cater to their community. But at the end of the day, 120 million people for a product like that, that's a high amount of people to keep happy at once. Inevitably, people are going to make better solutions that are more catered to the games that they want. So I don't really see them being able to keep that up past the 100 million mark.
Amazing that they made this much progress again from 2020 to 2025. They went from 23 million being the high point for concurrent users to 40 million in those 5 years, and that was with the rise of Epic really starting to I think dig into their market share a bit. They still almost doubled over 5 years. Let's go over to the tatted lawyer Michael Christine next, and we're going to Kevin Lambert.
Yeah, so I'm gonna agree with Koji here and take the over. And there's a couple different reasons for this. First, Steam is trying to expand in the mobile world, and as mobile phones get better, they're gonna be able to play higher capacity games that you can only play on PC now. And as the mobile revolution continues on, and more people have mobile phones that are capable of playing these games, they're generally playing them on Steam because every single indie developer and their mother are launching their games on Steam because they don't know where else to launch them. And yes, Epic Games is definitely doing well and they're starting to grow in terms of market share. But I think as we see more indie developers come out, as we see these AI technologies allow for game development to become more accessible to the average person, when they think of, oh, where do I launch a game? They have no idea how to get on a console. They have no idea really oftentimes how to get on the app stores. They're going to be like, oh, let me go launch on Steam. They'll probably also launch on Epic Games as well. But I think, as Koji mentioned, more gamers are made every single day versus not. So we're going to see an influx of population, B, see an influx of the technology bringing more users to Steam, and then C, like I said, the indie developers themselves building with AI, building with all these tools, generally look at Steam as their main way of distribution because they just have no idea where else to distribute. So I absolutely will crush the over on that, and I'll hedge my bets and take the long.
Yeah, let's put it. What's the bet, Sinjin? Let's put it on chain. Sinjin's betting 250 something on
250
the under.
ETH. Okay, go.
No, we need something that's worth money.
What's
Though.
Fiat
250
betting? I don't know about this.
Yeah. Let's go to Kevin Lambert. Kevin, what are we taking? The over, the under on 100 million Steam concurrents by 2030.
As resident Libra, I'm going to give the Libra take here. Over, mostly for the reasons that Koji and Michael talked about. Especially with all the AI games coming out now, there's a lot of people who are going to become new game creators, and they are going to and Steam is the indie home. They're the incumbent. That's where you go with when you have an indie game because you can get early access, you can get good feedback. And I think that's where a lot of people will go. So as a lot of new games are about to influx into the indie scene, maybe they're single A games, double A, whatever. That's just where they're going to go. Under, because they don't support Web3, so F Steam, go Epic.
Knock, I'm going to you, then to Sinjin.
It fucking better be under. Steam launched in 2003, and the only thing that they've changed since then was the color of their fucking platform. I think we'll have a lot more than 100 million PC gamers, but it better not fucking be on Steam. We need more platforms like Epic that are actually doing something to change UX, that make player experience a little bit better, that help with things like discovery. Steam is just a fucking catalog of shit that is impossible to search through. It's really difficult to figure out what the fuck it is that you're looking at. I've been using it for over a decade and I absolutely hate it. I think the number of gamers will grow rapidly, It better not be on Steam. I think it's time for somebody to come and disrupt the incumbent there.
Sinjin, then to Lems for the last word.
Oh, my naive panel. How much I love you all. For the more developed the country, actually the population starts to decline or reduce. I guess you guys don't understand that level of social economic knowledge. Thank you, Charlie, for that kiss. Kiss me a little lower. I'm lifting up my shirt right now. Touch me more, Charlie. And then also, you guys are talking about games. Yeah, there's gonna be a ton more games. AI is gonna like have it. Charlie's got his wonderful platform. What's the name of it again? Farcade. Yeah, I love Farcade. And I love these hyper casual games that will get like all the players that they switch around, right? But again, for like retention or bringing people into a new game, like the next Minecraft, the next Fortnite, and stuff like that. Well, there is the Fortnite, there is the Minecraft already, So like, it's not about the number of games; it's the games that really, really push the envelope. And I think if Steam was to actually really crack that, then it would be because like they got Web3 and fuck Steam for that. I'm quoting Kevin. I love you, Steam. Yeah, we're buddies. But anyways, yeah. So it's not about the games, not about the population. It's really about like, can we get to the next level of innovation? And we just really haven't seen that yet.
Lems for the last word. Then we're picking the MVP of the live gamified.
All right, I'm going to say under, but I will say Steam has dominated for, 20 years now. They're still the dominant platform. Last 10 years, they've seen a lot of growth. So I think they're going to continue to grow. But even if they 2x from here, that's 80 million by 2030. That'll be pretty good growth. I will say the one caveat might be maybe, hey, if they decide to actually finally stop being so butthurt about blockchain and decide to enable blockchain, it's inevitable. So if they do that, maybe we actually hit the 100 million. There's going to be new platforms coming in, nickel and diming market share, but by 2030, I think we're still going to see them as the dominant one. But under if they keep hating on blockchain, but I'll give them over if they decide to change their ways.
Thanks, Lems. And who's your MVP of the day, brother?
Oh, shit, put me on the spot. Who am I going to give it to? I'm going to give it to Charlie just to spite Sinjin.
Charlie, that means you have to pick the next one. Who's your pick?
Anyone but Sinjin. That godless win. No, I'll give it to Kevin. Kevin Lambert had some great points.
And Kevin Lambert, who's your vote going to?
I'm gonna go with Dub today because he just does not mind. He does not mind the controversy and the loud takes.
Dub hasn't been here in an hour and a half, but we'll accept that. John Radoff, over to you. Who's your MVP of the panel?
I'm going to give it to Kevin because he is a Beamable customer building on Beamable. So clearly the wisest man in this group.
Completely unbiased, as always.
Purchased MVP.
Brian DeSanto, who's your MVP, brother? Bryce screams from outside that it's Michael Christine. Michael, who's your MVP?
Well, the clear MVP of this space is clearly Nintendo, but outside of them, I think I have to go with my capitalist brother over here, Sinjin. Love the reality takes that he laid on everybody's head today. So Sinjin's going to get mine.
Sinjin, who's your MVP, big dog?
Yeah, I'd like to give my pity MVP to Knock. Knock, there's some level of capitalism and there's hardcore level of capitalism. I welcome for you to grow up one day and join me in that echelon of real fucking hardcore capitalism.
Knock, you dirty fucking capitalist. Who's your MVP?
I got the same number of votes as a guy who wasn't even fucking here. I'm gonna give it to Koji for this one.
Koji, who's your pick?
I gotta say, this is a real one for us episode. The energy is pretty low, so it's hard to pick an MVP. I like that Dub gets more votes when he's not here uh, than when he is. So, Dub for the memes.
Oh, no. Jerry, who's your pick, bud?
It was gonna be Sinjin just to spite Charlie, but it's now Dub.
Oh, my God. And Wills, who's your pick?
Here. What the fuck? What kind of answer is that? Say Dub.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. I'm gonna give it to John because I get to come on here every day and listen to people who have been going to GDC longer than I've been alive and absorb that wisdom. So very grateful for that.
Awesome stuff, guys. Well, that means our MVP of the day is Dub. Congratulations to the man who's not even here, wearing pants that could fit 4 people, which is good because Jerry's going to need some. That's going to do it since we don't have anybody to do the 60 seconds of FaceTime. I guess second place would be quick math. Kevin, oh, that's why you want to pass that over to Kevin Lambert.
We take those default wins. That's how we do it. Slide in there, kneecap the incumbent, and then they can't accept the award. Thank you. No, that's awesome.
Talk about the invitational tomorrow.
Yeah. So we did our world first play test yesterday. It was absolutely insane. I posted on Twitter about it. The machines have several games here. Some of them are really good. But every time I walked by, I don't know, during the between events, our game was running, and we didn't pay people for that, at least publicly. And so it's really cool. We're having a big tournament tomorrow of some of the biggest tryhards that we found over the last 3-4 months. They're going to be playing. These are names you know in Web3. So be sure to tune in for that. If not, it'll be recorded. But we'll be playing and getting the tryhard slice and opinion of our game. It'll be awesome.
Thank you so much, Kevin. So excited for that tournament tomorrow. So excited to bring home the W in that tournament tomorrow. Thanks for letting me compete, by the way. And of course, got to give a massive shout out one more time. Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified, is more than just a blockchain. It's a winter wonderland of innovation with a $100 million AI fund and partnerships with gaming giants like Gunzilla Games, T1 Esports, Solo Leveling, and more. Avalanche is breaking the ice and setting the standard for the future of Web3 gaming. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newbie, come explore the avalanche of possibilities and discover a world where the snow never melts and the fun never stops. And I'm calling all cosmic crusaders and spacefaring scoundrels because Star Atlas is about to ignite the gaming galaxy with its pulse-pounding space races where velocity and valor are your keys to victory. Master the maneuvers of magnificent spaceships, mine marvelous minerals, and build an empire that spans the stars. Join the Discord, get a game key, and play the preseason to prepare for a year of stellar surprises in 2025. And get ready to rumble with the gaming gatekeepers that are flipping the script on giving the power back to the players. They're the ones that are turning the metaverse into a melting pot of ideas, a crucible of creativity and breeding grounds of innovation. They're the ones that are empowering players to take control of their digital destinies and build their own societies to shape the future of gaming. So grab your gamepads and get ready to conquer the next era of gaming with Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. Thank you to everybody here in real life, and of course, everybody listening on the internet. Sorry that it's always a little bit chaotic when we do these live episodes. Hope you can roll with the punches and have fun along with us. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week with Simplified and Gamified 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday and Wednesday, respectively. Thank you, guys. It's been a great one. See you soon.